Hello, everybody. I guess it's my time now, right? I know it's late in the afternoon well, not late, but after having lunch, so I'll try not to bore you too much, hopefully. I am the VP of IT at TraPac. TraPac is a contraction of two words, Trans-Pacific. We are a maritime container handling company. So we're critical to the infrastructure in the global supply chain. And we have terminals in Oakland and in Los Angeles, the Port of Los Angeles. What I'm going to talk about today is how we turned the Los Angeles terminal, well, so far half of it, to almost a fully automated terminal. The technology involved, what our decision-making process to go digital was, and what our future is. So, I forgot I have this here now. So basically, I want to start off assuming the video works to show you what that technology looks like today. It's a very short video. You're welcome to sleep through it and watch it later online if you like. We're going to also, later I'll talk about the exact areas that went into this decision. Obviously, when you're implementing that kind of technology and using those funds from some private equity groups, they want to make sure that it's going to be valuable to them. I'll move into areas that weren't always thought of up front, but quickly became a reality criticism from government entities, labor organizations, and even the public. We'll look at the broader outcomes, what was the result of all of this technology and effort we put into it. And then basically what our strategy is going forward. We'll leave room for questions at the end, and let's start.
Welcome to the TraPac Automated Terminal at the Port of Los Angeles, where we are investing for the future today. At TraPac, we have a holistic approach to safety, service, and sustainability, from the way we approach customer service to the technological advancements we have invested in to improve efficiency and the ways we strive to protect the environment. Our Los Angeles terminal can service ships up to 14,000 TEUs, and while ships are docked, they can reduce emissions of harmful pollutants by 80% by plugging in to alternative maritime power or by using a bonnet system. As the container moves off the ship and onto the waterside transfer area, a combination of hybrid electric automated straddle carriers, or autostrads, and electric-powered, rail-mounted automated stacking cranes, known as ASCs, work together, improving efficiency and nearly eliminating emissions. This automated process, which TraPac is the first in the world to implement, works behind a secure fence for increased safety and uses state-of-the-art algorithms that have innovated the way we move cargo. On the truck transfer side of the terminal, we have built a ramp for trucks to enter and exit, which reduces congestion and emissions in the local community. Construction of the ramp allows trains and trucks to move independently in and out of TraPac without delays and idle times. When trucks arrive at the terminal's main gate, they are given an assignment, tapping into an integrated cargo appointment system, which signals the automated technology to pull the appropriate container. At the truck handling area, the driver exits the truck and enters a secure booth during the automated cargo loading process for maximum safety. The ASC moves the container towards the chassis, and then by remote control, a worker lowers the container onto the truck. This integrated system has significantly reduced truck turn times. About 35% of cargo that comes through TraPac is moved via rail, using our on-dock rail facility that connects to the Alameda Corridor, a 20-mile freight rail expressway that links the Southern California ports to the national rail system. TraPac's fully automated on-dock rail is the first of its kind, providing the ability to build 4 full trains each day and allowing cargo owners to receive their goods faster than ever before. TraPac's commitment to innovation has increased efficiency and productivity, minimized exposure to risk and delays, and has reduced emissions of harmful pollutants and greenhouse gases. Now that you've learned about the new TraPac terminal, we invite you to come along for a personal tour. But first, here are a few important safety tips.
Well, I hope that was enough to demonstrate the automation there. Most terminals that are manual are called conventional, they have driving each one of those cranes. So they're 3 stories high, some of them. They're stairs that you take up to the crane, to and from the crane. It takes 30 minutes to get out there and back. It's pretty complex. What we wanted to do, though, was come up with a way of innovating that through technology. And obviously to drive these 3-story tall cranes that are carrying 20-ton containers at about 22 miles an hour, we had to have the right software and technology included as well. So some of that decision to get to that piece was, one, looking at how you get some project like that approved, in this case, through the board. Environmental, social, and governance is something you hear, ESG, quite a bit now at the board level. In the past times, it wasn't as much of a priority. You still balanced, return on investment and IRR over ESG. That's changed quite a bit. In California specifically, with LA and our Oakland terminals, there's regulations that have been put in place, and we have to meet certain deadlines. By 2030, we have to be 100% zero emission on all of our vehicles. It's quite a feat. So making sure to balance that and showing that you do still obviously maintain other benefits, but ESG is a great marketing campaign as well. The prior culture used to be more exploitative than explorative. So meaning that we would look at Horizon 1 projects, continuous improvement, which we still do today, but we really didn't look too much into Horizon 2 and 3, meaning that to do this type of innovation, you really have to look at a minimum of a 4 to 5 year roadmap. So an ambidextrous organization is key, balancing your portfolio between explorative and exploitative initiatives. And then also being careful in which innovative projects you choose, knowing that this is not just, I know that someone talking about the hardware earlier, right? This is a great balance between getting the hardware, the operational technology, along with the software to work the way you need it to work. We needed to look at challenges and opportunities, but also the risk exposure overall. So with that risk, building the risk register and making sure that it goes not just from the technology side, but all the way up through the organization. Some of that would be with regards to labor, and some of the criticisms we talked about before. And the key part here was you don't have to necessarily be first, but you have to be close if you're going to invest into something of this nature. We were able to be live and up and running 5 years before anybody in the Port of LA complex, or really the western part of the United States or North America, had technology that is similar to ours. That included quite a bit of branding and recognition on top of all the other benefits we got. We'll see a little bit later. And then finally, I know that Chris, I think you spoke about scaling on the SDLC level. In this area, I'm talking more on the organizational level, the revenue level, meaning instead of the growth going with revenue and costs in a linear correlation, this would be more of a exponential, either revenue increasing exponentially over costs or costs decreasing exponentially, giving us a chance to handle the amount of throughput that we were trying to get. That video was a little outdated. We actually can now, we've raised the cranes and can get 18,500 TEUs ships coming in. So some of those are actually, we're doing better than we were when this was made. But that's really the key there. Okay, I talked about the criticisms before, and what we did know that there was going to be an issue with labor, obviously, and that's with anything. It doesn't have to be this. But when technology comes, and it was discussed earlier, labor worries they're going to lose their jobs, which can happen. And they always want better pay. They always want, better jobs. And we want to give that to them. But you have to be careful when you're going to do this scale of a project and make sure that you're able to mitigate some of these risks. Key, diminishing labor, and some of these are actually collective bargaining agreements. So within the ILWU, which is a labor union, they renegotiate the contracts every 7 years. Our goal was to make this equitable for all parties, including labor. So going into those agreements honestly and trying to make it a win-win situation is key. So what were some of the outcomes? Value-driven is key here. We wanted to look at the benefits to our customers, to our trucking lines and rail operators, our cargo owners, the people that own those containers, the Walmarts, the Targets. And also we had to look at our employees, labor, like I said before. So this had to be completely value-driven, and that was something that was our ultimate goal coming out of that. Another area that came out of this that we weren't really thinking up front was increased safety. So since this went into effect, some of that large equipment that people are driving, they come outside of the cabs. Most of them work autonomously, but there are exception handling processes. So those jobs now moved into remote control console areas. So they're sitting in an air-conditioned room. They're sitting on a leather chair with joysticks, almost like playing video games, landing containers, moving strads. So safety went down. Life-altering issues haven't happened since this has went live in our terminal. It happens quite often at some of the conventional terminals. And we're continuing to look into more safety. For instance, we're putting halo devices on people that are within a range that a crane could go overhead. It can identify exactly where that person is, come to a stop, or move the container around so it doesn't go overhead. So another big thing that we see since COVID, post-COVID, we had huge increases. We had throughput that was 2, sometimes 3 times higher than any time in the past history of the company since 1986. That happened across the board in a lot of the port complexes. With that, you probably had heard, at least some of you in Los Angeles, hundreds of ships waiting to dock or to berth at shore, and that was true. Because of the size of our terminal, it's much smaller than these gigantic terminals. We don't have as much space. So being able to store highly concentrated amount of containers in those, you saw the called ASC blocks, was paramount during COVID. We were able to store twice as many containers than we could in the past, and we were able to then allow cargo to continue to move through our terminal. You also saw the sign about, I think you saw about the harmful pollutants. We actually reduced our carbon footprint by 90%. All of those ASC block cranes are electric, 100%. Half of the auto straddle carriers, the big red cranes that move by themselves, are either hybrid electric with low emission diesel engines, or pure electric, almost like a train where they're running basically off electricity. So with all of that, the Port of LA invested quite heavily to assist us through grants and federal funding as well. And of course, what was one of the outcomes from all of that was the customer experience. You heard on the video, we reduced truck turn time. That's the time it takes for a truck to come into the terminal, handle its mission, whether it's loading, unloading, or both, one of its containers, and leaving. In the past, they used to spend an hour and a half for an average time in the terminal. We got it down to 30 minutes after this. The same with the dwell time for vessels and rail. Used to be 7 days for a vessel. We could cut days off of that, and rail as well. And in the long run, although some jobs were lost in some areas, other highly skilled jobs were gained. So overall, there were actually more jobs created than were lost, and including operational technology jobs and highly technical information technology development, but mechanics, highly skilled mechanics that understand this new technology to be able to fix and service these robots. And of course, the last thing was we did obviously elevate our profitability. Our rail is probably one of the least costly rail to run in the port complex because of it. So what's next? What does it mean to us? I think that the key here is first implementing a technology that we can gather data. The telemetry that we receive from all these devices is tracked. We get millions and millions of logs that we are able to hopefully sift through. I would like to look into some type of AI. I don't want to make it something extremely difficult, but I feel like we can take ourselves from lagging indicators to being more predictive or even prescriptive in some areas. Even when we were not automated, there's other technologies that exist. For instance, OCR at the gates. We read the truck license plate. We read the chassis ID. All of that data comes in and it interacts with our terminal operating system, was basically like an ERP system for the terminals. We're able to automatically exit containers. We interact with Customs and Border Protection so that they can identify containers they find suspicious. All of this happens instantly, and we continue to improve upon that. We are, as I'd said before, the Halo project is really big right now. We're going to auto in-gate, and our goal now is to create a mobile app that the truck drivers can use. So we can identify through their GPS where they are. It'll help us to automatically determine when they're going to be within a certain distance or geofence from our terminal. We then know if they're going to make their appointment or not, so we can reassign it. We also can prepare or pre-stage their container so that by the time they get there, the container is ready to put on their truck. We think we can cut down that 30 minutes to 15 if this goes well. We're also looking at implementing express lanes for the truck drivers that actually make their appointments on time, and ultimately give everybody better service. So with that in mind, anybody have any questions? I know that we have a little bit of time.
So you presumably replaced a lot of diesel and potentially gas with battery electric in a lot of cases. Where's all that electricity coming from? Are you drawing it off the public grid, or are you generating on site?
So that's a great question. Right now, we're drawing it off the public grid. However, we are looking at some technologies. There is an interesting technology that uses kinetic power, and all it really does is require water. They're big silos, and we'll be able to power, with 4 of those plants, we could power the entire LA operations. So we get benefits from that. Obviously, it's clean. So LA, California loves it. Not wave, it's actually self-contained silos that are filled with water, and it uses some technology to create energy through kinetic power. If you want to send me a message, I could send you some info on it. I think it's developed in Germany, the technology. But that's our ideas, and hopefully we'll do something like that in first LA, try it out, and if it works, we'll get cleaner power and also more consistent. We have a lot of issues with providing the amount of power we need.
What are you doing about biometric authentication for people coming and going, asking for a friend?
Well, that's a great question. I want to talk to you about that with regards to the legal aspects. We actually, there's a card that you have to enter any type of port of entry if you're a worker. It's called a Transportation Workers Identification Card, or TWIC. It has a little RFID reader on it, or chip. So what we wanted to do is read the driver's face, match it up to the card to ensure that we already read the RFID off the truck to make sure they're allowed to enter. We put a halt on it because of our attorneys told us they're worried about us getting sued. So if you can help with that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we got that. I'll talk later.
Okay, sounds good. Great question. Anybody else? All right. Oh, I'm sorry.
It seems that AI is the theme of the day. So what are you planning as far as AI is concerned? I mean, Reza is planning on canceling all our jobs. Are you trying to do the same thing?
Well, no. We're trying to offer even better service to our customers. One, we want to be able to load the vessels in a way so that when it leaves the Los Angeles terminal, it goes to our terminal in Oakland most of the time, that service. If we load it in the proper way, they can unload it even faster, and they're not automated, so it would help reduce cost and increase throughput. The other things we're looking at are productivity and equipment failure, looking through all of the available data and being able to correlate certain components within this automation area. If you can think the amount of software and hardware to drive these PLCs, the different technology involved, when they fail, it can cause an e-stop that would shut down the entire, we call it an apron, where all these big red autostrads were. So we don't want to be behind the ball on that. We want more leading indicators. Those two are probably the main areas right now. Good question. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time, and I'm glad. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. One more.
I'm just in renewable energy and the developer, but have you thought about just buying renewable energy from a large IPP? We're in a deregulated market, and then pairing that with battery storage on site. You could probably do it for a lot cheaper than doing it that way. I haven't heard of the technology that you guys are considering.
We should talk about that. I know that the amount we generate for the Los Angeles area, it's kind of difficult even to get that energy from the local power source. So I know for sure, solar's not going to do it. But that's something I'd like to talk to you about. Maybe we can investigate further. Thank you. Thanks again, everybody.